So welcome back to the kitchen. I'm Rob Eddy from Columbus Community Hospital, and today I have some things that you might have left over from your Thanksgiving dinner. Things you could use up in the days afterwards. Maybe you're having people over to watch the Packers beat the Vikings the next Sunday. I'm gonna do 4 dishes that I think you'll really like, utilizing all the stuff you might have left over. So the first thing we're going to do is something you could do with your leftover stuffing. In my house, we never have leftover stuffing, but in case you do, this is going to be kind of a snack you can make using your stuffing and just a slice of bacon. So you're going to get your oven going about 325. Take a slice of bacon and just cut it in half. Lay it out like this, and then take some stuffing and you're just going to kind of ball it up. When it's cold, it'll stick together pretty nicely for you. Just make kind of a football shape with it, mold it together real tight. You want to get it kind of tight so it doesn't fall apart. And then you're going to roll it up in the bacon. Make sure it goes around at least once because the bacon will shrink a little bit while it's in the oven, so you don't want it to pull apart. Just roll it up, leaving the seam on the bottom. And do another one here. Squish it in your palm. Doesn't take much to make it stick. And roll it up. And I've got the seam on the bottom here. So put a little parchment paper on your pan if you got it. If you don't, you could just use some nonstick spray. Then just take those and you're gonna pop these in the oven, about 325. They take about 20 minutes or so. Just keep an eye on them, depending on how crispy you like your bacon would be, how long you leave them. And then I've got some here that I already cooked. So what I'm gonna do with them is just take this nice little bowl that I got from my mom. I'm going to take some cranberry sauce that we had left over. Put this right in the middle of the bowl for dipping. And then just take my cooked bacon wrapped stuffing. Put them right inside there. A little more sauce. And that's as simple as it gets. About a 25-minute process. Nice little snack to have for the game or whatever you have going on while you're laying around the day after Thanksgiving. So the next dish we're gonna do is gonna be a salad. We're gonna use our cranberry sauce. We're gonna make a little vinaigrette with it. Vinaigrettes are pretty easy. Any vinaigrette you wanna make, it's a 2-to-1 ratio of oil to vinegar. So what I'm gonna do is take this towel, I'm just gonna twist it up a little bit and make like a little donut on my cutting board so it'll hold my bowl steady. Because I'm gonna whisk in all this stuff all together. So I've got my leftover cranberry sauce. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of that in there. So this is nice and sweet and it's a little bit tart. So really you're kind of halfway there. And then I'm gonna use a little bit of mustard. The mustard, aside from being tasty, it'll help the dressing emulsify. So I've got the sauce, a little bit of mustard. This is apple cider vinegar. You could use white wine vinegar, you could use balsamic vinegar, but I'm gonna try to get about a 2-to-1 ratio. So there's my 1 part of vinegar. Then I'm gonna whisk up the cranberry and the mustard, just get it going a little bit. And since that cranberry sauce is already seasoned, it's got sugar in it, it's got a little salt in it, you're not gonna have to do much seasoning to this. So all we're really gonna do is just start adding oil. Keep whisking it in. Getting a nice pretty color with it. It should look nice when the salad is finished. Then as you go, you're just going to want to give it a quick taste. You don't want it too tart. You got the vinegar and you've got the tartness of the cranberry, so that's going to need a little bit more oil. Pretty good though, nice and sweet. So that should get us just about there. Got a nice pretty vinaigrette there. I'm gonna set this aside and then we're gonna build our salad. Somebody told me a long time ago, you don't make a salad, you build a salad. So here's some mixed greens. I'm gonna throw some pecans in there. You might have hanging around from whatever you made for Thanksgiving. Throw a few more cranberries in there. These are just dried cranberries. I'm gonna put a little onion because you have to have onion. And then I have a pear and an apple here. So I'm gonna dice a little bit of both of these. And dice them, slice them, however you like them. I think it's a little easier to grab it with a fork if you dice them. Throw those into our bowl. There's some pear in there too. So here we got our ingredients for our salad. I'm gonna give this a little stir. Pour a little bit of vinaigrette in there. Towel. Then toss this up a little bit. Make sure we coat the greens, coat the fruit. Everything moved around a little bit. I like to try to pull most of the greens out first so I can get all that good stuff we threw in there right on the top. Make it look nice and pretty. Pears, apples, pecan, a little onion. And there you go, simple as that. Little leftover cranberry sauce vinaigrette on a nice fall salad. Turkey panini, so we're gonna use some of our cranberry sauce again. We're gonna use some turkey, and maybe you did a cheese platter, you got some leftover cheeses you wanna use up. This is a great way to do it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is make a cranberry mustard. You could buy cranberry mustard, but why would you do that when you can just make your own? So I'm gonna take some of this cranberry sauce. Haven't done anything to it, it's just the cranberry sauce left over. I'm gonna take a little bit of this whole grain mustard. You don't have to use whole grain. I just think it's a little better. It's just a personal preference. I'm gonna just mix it up. If you like it a little more on the spicy mustard side, use a little more mustard. You want to keep it sweeter, a little less mustard. I'm gonna crush those cranberries just a little bit. I'm gonna put a little more mustard in there. Mix that up a bit. That looks pretty good to me. So I got this nice whole grain bread, makes a nice panini. First thing I'm gonna do is spread this mustard, kind of a lot of it, because it's really good. Just smear it on there. I don't really mind that there's a couple of chunks of cranberry in there. It's just a nice little surprise while you're eating it. I'll spread it on there. I'm gonna take some of my leftover turkey, just kind of shred it up a little. Spread it all over the sandwich. This would be another good one for the game or the day after. I got a nice amount of turkey. Then I've got some brie here. Fontina would be very good on this. Havarti would be very good on this. Nice white cheddar would be very good. And then I had some almonds. Maybe you had some almonds left over from your stuffing. I'm just gonna squish those on there too. And they'll melt right into the cheese. Squish it in. Assemble our sandwich. I'm just gonna take a little bit of butter on the bread. So now we got our sandwich all assembled. Go ahead and go into the pan. Basically, you're just making kind of a fancy grilled cheese, using up some of those leftovers. So it's a turkey and brie panini, cranberry mustard. Put that bad boy on the plate. You are ready to go. So the next dish we're going to do is a sweet potato croquette. I chose to use sweet potatoes because I find that usually we have sweet potatoes left over and we don't have mashed potatoes left over. If you do have mashed potatoes left over, you could very easily use that, or you can use a mixture of both. Both will come out good. So I'm going to take some turkey. I'm going to cut it up to small pieces, a little bit more. I'm going to take a saucepan and put a little bit of oil in there. And we got some diced onion here. Get the diced onion going. And a little bit of fresh thyme. So we want those onions just to sweat a little bit, just until they get translucent, as they say. Keep them moving around. You don't want them to brown, you just kind of want them to soften up a little bit. So those are going pretty nicely, so I'm going to go ahead and add my turkey. You just want to warm this up some. Stir that in with the onion and the fresh thyme. And that whole process, just getting the turkey and the onion going, take about 3 or 4 minutes. Once that starts to warm up nice, I'm going to add heavy cream. So I'm just going to get a good amount of heavy cream in there just to cover up the turkey. And I'm going to let that cook, lower the heat a little bit. Let it cook until most of your cream has evaporated. What you're going to end up with is something like this. So this is our turkey mixture with the fresh thyme, onion, reduced cream, and then we've got our sweet potatoes here. So I'm going to start out with the sweet potato. And this is just, if you had whole sweet potatoes, you can just pull them right out of the peel and mash them up. This is mashed sweet potato, so I just made it like mashed potatoes, but with sweet potato. Put that in your bowl. Add some turkey. Then you're going to want to put 1 egg. And a little bit of flour. Your flour you're going to want to add gradually because you're not going to need too much of it. You just want enough to bind it. You'll be able to tell when you start making your cakes whether or not you need more. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. Then I'm just going to take my spatula, start mashing this around. After you pull your turkey out, you're going to want to let it cool a little bit before you mix it into here. See my flour starting to bind all that together. Get that egg mixed in there. Add a little more turkey. So really a croquette is just a mashed potato pancake. All right, so now we're going to see how our consistency is. I'm just going to take some of this in my hand. I'm going to drop it right in these panko breadcrumbs. A little more there. And I'm just going to form a cake. So I've got my potato in there, kind of mash it around a little bit. Or I'm just going to form that into a nice cake. You want it to be stiff, but not too stiff, because if you get it too stiff, it's just not going to cook. So I have some here that I've already got ready. We're going to go ahead and saute these. Some oil in the pan. On about a medium heat there. Too much heat, you'll end up with some burned breadcrumbs, so you kind of just want to take a look at your pan, see how your oil is moving. Faster it moves, the hotter it is. Start adding these to the pan. Just do a couple at a time. You don't want to crowd your pan or you lose all your heat. Those are really sizzling, so I'm going to turn it down just a bit. These cakes are pretty small, so you should be able to finish them in the pan. If you want to make a bigger cake, if you wanted it to be more of a, like for lunch, it would be your only thing. You could make them bigger, but when you flip them, you might want to throw them in the oven for a couple minutes just to get the heat in there. But for how big these are, doing them in the pan should be fine. So what you're going to want to watch for is the outside of the cake will start to brown a little bit, and that's when you're just about ready to flip. You don't want to play with them too much, they'll start falling apart on you. So I got those out of the pan. Now I want to set them on the cutting board just so I don't want to put the oil right onto the plate. So I just let them sit on the board for a second and rest. Then I'm just going to take some more cranberry sauce. Just make a nice little line of cranberry sauce. Nothing on the rim. The rim is for the customer. And there you go. Sweet potato croquettes, cranberry sauce for dipping. Here's all our dishes. I hope this helps you use up some of the leftovers that you have after Thanksgiving, something to make the days after a little bit easier. I'd like to thank Tim and Linda Moore for letting us use their kitchen, and I hope you enjoy all the dishes here and maybe give it a shot making them. Come back next month and we will do something a little different, and I will see what I can get cooking.